Communities in the Amazons continue to survive on hunting, gathering and basic agriculture. Their protests in the recent months have exposed how forgotten they have been. This man is the indigenous governor of the area. We asked him how could it be that after 30 years of oil drilling, the city could be so poor.
I really cannot talk about anything. I'm not allowed to.
Many here are afraid to talk against the government or against the oil companies who rule every aspect of people's life. Many communities in these areas have become dependent on the oil companies. The presence of the state is almost non-existent here, so they depend on the companies, on their healthcare, electricity and other basic services.
Perhaps it's just that the new technology is so expensive, the oil companies don't want to invest in that unless the government forces them to. And that's why Peru is so popular, because the government doesn't force the oil companies to do anything, not even clean up the mess behind them, you know? And not even live up to the environmental and social agreements that they have made. So really, I think here in Peru, it's not so much a problem with the oil companies, although in some cases it may be. It's more of a problem of a state that hasn't assumed the responsibility for protecting its own citizens.
Under Peruvian law, 2/3 of the community must give their consent before oil exploration and drilling can begin. But Garcia's new laws requested only 50%, an erosion of influence and one of the causes of the conflict. Numbers aside, oil companies have been negotiating with the indigenous for years, convincing them that allowing them to work in the area will have certain benefits. We tried to speak with 2 oil companies, but they did not want to comment about the latest events between the government and the indigenous communities. Javier Cueva lives in Guagramona, a community not far away from Andoas. He is a mestizo, as those who have mixed blood are known. He says he knows how the companies operate.
We're told we have to open up for the companies, that without them we have nothing, because oil is the only natural resource we have. But we know how it works. They come and promise to help us, and nothing happens. Ramshorn told us they'd come and drill, and promise to recycle the oil left above the ground. But the problem is, when it rains heavily, it will spread and destroy everything. Who knows what will happen?
Javier shows us the true benefits of acceding to the oil company's presence on their land, water pumps and the healthcare center that still hasn't been finished. Javier here is telling us that this water pump was given to the community by Talisman about a year ago, but it only worked for 3 months, and now, as you can see, it's completely useless. And this is not an exception. As all around the Amazons region, there are stories of failed promises. And when problems arise, the population has no one to turn to. Manuel Araguaraza is the leader of this community. He's a first-hand witness of the effects that oil drilling has among the members of his community. He took us in this small boat, also known as a peke-peke, into the jungle. This Quechua community has offered to take us to see where some of the oil spills have taken place here, contaminating this area. And an hour later, we started to find the pipelines that connect pumps with the pumping stations. We're here in the middle of this channel, and we're told that this pipeline that you can see here connects the city of Andoas with further inside the jungle. We're told by the people here that there's been several oil spills, and that before this area used to be filled with lizards and fish and other animals, and that now it's almost empty. The second in command is Dioniso Mukushura. He says that they are tired of seeing how they're taken advantage of.
Before we were able to find fish, but now we can only eat twice a day. Siempre la empresa cuando entra
But we have to go to other
viene
rivers.
a ofrecer muchas cosas.
When we ask something, they say we are natives and have no right to anything.
Pedro también nos vino a decir,
They come and offer us all these things, but we don't have your education. We are not smart.
¿para qué?
So they take advantage of us because they know all the laws.
Porque nosotros no sabemos.
We reach the area where the last oil spill took place. Manuel continues to get upset every time he talks about it.
Todo de aquí era monte, ¿no? Y acá pues
I used to hunt with my father here. All this area was filled with trees. But then, Occidental Petroleum arrived and contaminated everything.
por la empresa Oxy.
Plus Petrol from Argentina is the owner of most of this area. They covered the oil spill with earth and then planted some trees on top of it.
Por partes crecen, por partes no crecen.
In some parts they grow, and in others, where there's oil, they don't. Still, these small plants are nothing compared to what we had.
This river goes all the way back to the oil company about 6 kilometers away, and as you can see, it's filled with leftovers of oil and other chemicals, and it goes straight inside the river where we came from.
¿Y por qué el Perú tiene que quedarse con su petróleo ahí sin tocar, sentado como usted dice en un banco de oro o de petróleo, ¿no? Y no tocarlo?
So why should Peru have to leave its oil there without extracting it, sitting on a bank of gold and not to touch it, because on top of it lives a group of indigenous people? The Constitution says that our natural resources belong to all Peruvians. The air, the water, the mines do not belong to one person, but to a country. Its exploitation is the right of the state. A prerequisite is, and Peru fulfills it, that the communities approve the entry of the oil companies.
The Amazons stands a world apart from the capital Lima and its hopes to integrate Peru to the developed nations around the world. And though some areas have already been affected, others continue to allow people to survive from whatever nature gives them. Indigenous communities have already been harmed and many of them have adapted to the modern world. But others continue to struggle. The Kandoshi tribe is one of them. We found them on the borders of the Pastasa River. Only a few spoke Spanish. These communities have an apo, also known as a leader. They're generally the eldest within the community. Right now, most of those apos are in the capital, Lima, negotiating with the government how to redraft what came to be known as the jungle laws. One of the leaders of the community asked us if we were government agents.
Have you come here to spy on us? Did the government send you? They just want to destroy us. The government says we are nothing, but we will defend our land because that's where we live.
The Kandoshi are known for keeping their dead next to their homes. When they are dry, they keep them in small pots. Women here play the traditional role of cooking and caring for their children. Men are responsible for hunting and fishing. Traditional cultures that clash with today's modern world. But they're not immune from its diseases. The Kandoshi have been infected with hepatitis B. At least 50% of this community is sick. Many here also blame white men for bringing it 15 years ago.
There were foreign missionaries that came here. We believe that they used contaminated needles to give us medicine. Before those missionaries came, we did not have that disease.
Forgotten communities that see the benefits of progress and development go somewhere else. The government, with the help of its armed forces, has confronted the tribes and sided with the companies that have obviously failed the natives in the past. The company's money has managed to buy the loyalty of the state, leaving these people defenseless and alone in their fight for their rights.